Hello and welcome to the Rogue Monkey podcast and episode 34. My name is Kevin Pickard. This week we're heading to the other side of the planet as we join Steve Butler, one of the directors at Amplified Coaching Online. This is part one of a two-part special, and we are joined in episode 35 by the other director, Premier League footballer and former Liverpool star Jose Enrique. Just before we get started, we would really appreciate it if once you've finished with today's show, you can give us a quick rate and review, as it helps capture your thoughts on our discussions. So today, our guest is joining us from the beautiful North Island of New Zealand, and boy has he got some energy. Steve Butler, originally hailing from sunny England, is the head hit coach at Amplified Coaching Online. Today he shares his story on how he went from being immersed in sport as a youngster, ending up with a post-grad job in Carphone Warehouse, and how it spiralled into moving to the other side of the world, and a journey that's ended up with him being in partnership and running an incredible fitness and wellbeing business with a Premier League footballer. Steve's passion and energy for health, wellbeing, community and life itself is absolutely apparent from the start. So get ready for a motivating and fascinating story as we dive into episode 34 of the Rogue Monkey podcast, the journey of Amplified Coaching Online, applying passion to business, part one, a conversation with Steve Butler. Hello and welcome to the show, Steve. How are you doing?
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me, Kev.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have an exciting journey. I know we're literally on different parts of the planet right now, but appreciate you getting up early to join us. And I've got plenty of caffeine rolling around my system, so we should all be good. But if you can just give our listeners a bit of an introduction as to who you are and what you do.
Yeah, okay. Guys, so my name's Steve Butler. As you can tell by the accent, originally from the UK. I actually grew up in Reading, spent a lot of time in Brighton at university, finished university and decided to go travelling, ended up in New Zealand. Here I am now, 10 years. I've been in New Zealand for 10 years. I'm a citizen now. Crazy how time flies, right? Family living over here, the other side of the world. And pretty much what I do is I wake up at 5 a.m. every single morning, helping people on their wellness journey through fitness, wellness, nutrition and mindset.
Awesome. Well, we're going to explore obviously a lot of those things, but I'm curious as to, you mentioned traveling, but how did it go from, grabbing the backpack and maybe 6 months on the road to 10 years later finding yourself a citizen there?
Oh, mate, great question. You know what's really interesting is that I actually never wanted to go traveling. I didn't really have a vision to travel around the world. It was my partner who basically she showed so much inspiration to doing it. And she had a bit of a time in New Zealand many years ago. So she kind of kept raving about it and stuff like that. And I finished uni and I got stuck in my student job at Carphone Warehouse. And I was only working there part-time, but it ended up coming out of uni. I was working at Carphone full-time. And I was like, surely I didn't go to uni for 4 years to work at Carphone and no disrespect to anyone who's ever worked there. It's a great place to work, but I worked there as a means to an end, right? So I did it. It was a great fun, but I was stuck, I was like, wow, if I don't do anything about this, I'm going to be stuck here for 10 years. And I was never that type of person to kind of want to be doing something for so long. It's just the way my mind works. I get bored quite easy and I have to keep doing different things. So I was like, called my girlfriend up and she's my wife now. And I called her up and I said, look, I've had a think. I'll come with you, because she was like committed to going. I was like, I'm going to come with you. I had £500 in the bank and she had £10,000 in the bank. And I said, look, if I save $3,000, can we split it 50-50? And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And she was an absolute legend. And I've paid her back, by the way, since then. But we went to this travel agent in Brighton and we literally just booked everything. And New Zealand was like the trip at the end. And we were planning on being here for 3 months. So we started at India. And then we kind of went all the way to New Zealand. So it was meant to be like a 6-month kind of trip around the world. And plan was to go back to the UK eventually. So that's how it all kind of started.
Brilliant. Well, I'm already excited to kind of unpick what came next. So obviously we've talked about fitness and health and how you get up in the mornings and get people, fit and healthy and engaged. So what is it about kind of health and fitness, and where did that passion come from in that specific area?
You know what? It's really interesting because fitness I got to thank my mum and dad. You know, they always pushed me into sport as a young kid. You know, I was from 3 years old. I was swimming, playing football. I used to get up on. I remember I'd get up on a Saturday morning. I'd go and swim for an hour and a half, and then my dad we'd rush home, quickly eat, put my soccer gear on, football gear, sorry, and then we'd go and play. And I'd go and play football, and then we'd have something on in the afternoon, like some different activities and stuff like that. And then something on in the evening. I remember I used to go to a roller skating disco. Do you remember those?
Oh,
and so
yeah.
literally, like, I was always active pretty much. And I always was into sport, but I'd never actually was into fitness at the time. I did a business degree. I was looking at getting into corporates. You know, I worked at a couple of companies in London, Xerox being one of them. So it's kind of fitness wasn't really the thing, but I'd always been into sport. So the journey to fitness pretty much began when I got to New Zealand, because I was doing all these ocean events. So I'd been a swimmer, so I just wanted to keep active, and I was every week we'd had like a like a 2K, so a 2,000 meter swim where you'd go from the beach out 1,000 meters back, and this is at local bay just up the road where I live. So we'd be doing that every Thursday, and I did that for like 5 years, and I was also swimming 3 times a week as well for the local club. So I was doing all this stuff and swimming heaps and stuff like that. And it was really interesting because I had a mentor one day, and he said to me, you know, you should really take your sport and help people with it. And he was a mentor. I worked for him for a few years when I was in New Zealand. And I really, you know, some people tell you things, some people don't, but he was the type of guy that tells you something, can you acknowledge it? And so I just took his advice and thought, let's combine the two. So I pretty much, this was like 7 years ago. So I'd been in New Zealand for 3 years at the time, like doing the sport, working at the same time. But so 7 years ago, 7.5 years ago, I decided to put a flyer together, the basic flyer. And then I got about 50 flyers. And then I started standing at the local train station every morning just up the road, and people would come and get on the train and go into the city. So I'd be handing out flyers about my boot camp program in the park. And this was like in the middle of winter. Bear in mind, you know, it's freezing cold, like not as cold as the UK, but, you know, we're getting down to like 2-3 degrees in the morning sometimes. So I was like, right, meet in the park. And luckily I had this hall just on the corner of the park, so I could hire that if it was like raining and really crappy weather, which most of the time it was. But anyway, handing out these flyers every day, and I was so nerve-wracking. I was like, people would just ignore me, but then a few people would take it and go, wow. And I was like, yeah, that's good. So anyway, I got one call and then another call, and then this went on for about 4 weeks, and I had about 6 clients, and I was running 3 sessions a week, boot camps, and then they were loving it. I was calling them up, getting feedback. What do you think about it? So then it just went from there. You know, that is pretty much the journey, mate. A mentor said, do it. I acknowledged it. I utilized my sporting background, obviously from swimming from the age of 3 years old, you know, and you obviously, you and Luca do a lot of swimming as well. So, you know, kind of that element of what it takes. Being a swimmer is a mindset thing as much as a, you know, a commitment thing and an endurance thing, right? Because you've got to be committed to doing it consistently. And so I had that kind of in me. So yeah, that's the journey to fitness.
Fantastic. And obviously this element of kind of community and building a group of people started well before obviously what we're going to get onto in a bit with the amplified stuff. But at what point did that kind of, when those first 5-6 people start turning up, did it start to get to a point where you felt there was that group of people that were on this kind of fitness, well-being and health journey together?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting one because I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. You know, I always had a vision to start my own business, you know, like we all do. And I actually thought I was going to do a business in travel. I spent years making business plans, cutting them up and all this type of stuff, spending thousands. So I already had that mindset for kind of the business element. But then also added to that, obviously doing getting into doing these boot camps, I also started to realize how amazing it was to meet people in the local area. Because, you know, bear in mind, you know, I was 24 years old when I moved to New Zealand. I knew one person, and that person I met them when I was traveling anyway. So we were in this area and we knew no one, me and Corinne, right? So we basically was like just doing our thing, had about 5 mates that we met through work. So doing these boot camps in the morning enabled us to meet people in the local area, like your neighbors pretty much. And it was really awesome to then go to the supermarket and bump into people that, you know, that were clients, and you go, "Hey, how you doing?" on a bus. I remember I'd bump into them everywhere, and it was amazing. It was almost like I felt like I was at home. I started feeling like, you know, a place of belonging. The loneliness started kind of drifting away and all that. And I just thought, how amazing is this to be able to be around people and create a community, and let alone, like, for me, I'll tell you, I've got to tell you, add in this story, right? When I was at uni, I had this vision, right? I was going to work for a corporate company, and I went to all these interviews for different companies, you know, that we all know of. And I always get through the second stage of the interview. But every time I'd get to the second stage, they always turn around and go, "Steve, we think you're amazing, but we think you're a little bit too hyper and a little bit too salesy for the team, for the, you know, for the role that we're looking to fit. But you've got something really unique now. We just don't know if you're the right fit." So I just came off and I just thought, well, I've got to find something that I can use that, but bring it into the right kind of area of things. And then the fitness and the boot camps and the community just all came together. You know, I just managed to just hit the sweet spot of everything I've been working towards. And then obviously we had these boot camps running. People were showing up. People were happy. I mean, I had no equipment. We had a crappy hall that smelt a bit damp. People were showing up every day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and doing the sessions with me. So I was really inspired because obviously the community was being created, but also I was doing something that I felt that I was actually good at, which took me a long time to figure out.
Well, I want to jump on then, I guess, to, you've already mentioned it, around this energy and this passion, and kind of where did that stem from? Because I think there's a lot of people in the wider working world, even if you work in sport, that can feel a little bit flat sometimes. Whereas, you know, we've had a few calls now, and I don't think I've ever come off a call and suddenly thought, right, up, let's go, even at, you know, whatever time it is at night here. And I think, you know, when I was chatting to Luke and we were setting up this call in the first place, he's like, so much energy. And then we're talking to Jose for our next episode, and he's exactly the same, like, "Oh, Steve, so much energy, so much passion." Where did that come from?
Yeah, mate. I there's a few different places, but I think the main thing, right, is as I grew up, my dad was always, you know, he was a DJ, right? So every weekend he'd go out and do a party somewhere for someone. And he was always the life and soul of the party. You know, we'd have parties at home and he would literally be going around topping up everyone's drink, turning the music up the loudest. Everyone was telling him to turn it down. And when I used to see him going about his daily life, especially in his workplace, he'd always just give 100% commitment to everyone. It was almost like this just natural energy that came into him. So I think it started from that. I kind of inherited a little bit of that. And then obviously with a bit of education, life experience, kind of brought in my own personality, toned things down a little bit, because you might think I've got energy now, mate. But when I was 19, 20, I would have a conversation with someone and I would talk way too fast to the point where you couldn't even understand what I was saying. It was almost like a bit of a comedy. It's just the way I was moving around with the hands and all that sort of stuff. But I've calmed down a little bit since then. So yeah, mate, that's where it come from. Obviously, and also the sport as well, which we've already spoken about, has had an impact as well on that. And the jobs I've had, you know, being at uni and the different positions I've done leading up to this point has all been people facing. And I've obviously had to learn how, you know, understanding people, how they respond, and how you as an individual, how I behave in front of people. And I've learned how people react to that. Do you know what I mean? So you get a bit of a strategy in your head of how to speak to people, knowing that you're going to get a response that's positive, and they're going to be reacting positively to what you're saying. And that's just come through, you know, a few years of experience. So yeah, that's the full picture of I reckon, that the energy, where it's come from.
So you've almost, everything you've said so far, we're effectively teeing yourself up in terms of experiences for what you've ended up doing with the amplified coaching stuff, which we're going to explore now. But I'm curious, was there any point since you kind of started that you look back and went, well, actually, when I was learning to engage in people and build that community and get people fit and healthy and wellness and bring my energy and use it in a really positive way, that you almost felt, I was born for this, you know, that all these moments, all these roads are coming together at this point where suddenly it feels like I've found my calling?
Oh, mate, it's unbelievable. You know what? Life's really interesting. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this, you guys can relate. You have moments of life where you have highs, lows, and then you go about your life, right? Day to day. Most of the time it's the day to day, but then you have these moments, don't you, where you kind of get lifted. And then you unfortunately have those moments where you get dropped a little bit. But the moments where you get lifted is the moments where you start to understand a little bit about yourself, and you start to understand that, oh yeah, I am finding my calling here, right? And so yeah, so it was a really cool feeling, like with the boot camps when I first started to getting the response that I did. Because remember, I was telling you before, I tried to build a travel company, and I spent 5 years trying to build it up. I was going to do tours to Sri Lanka, and I spent hours for years, couple of years trying to build this up, and I never got one customer. And with doing the boot camps, I started realizing people were starting to refer their friends. People were, showing up. They were giving me good feedback, and I was obviously learning and growing at the same time. But that was the calling message for me, to know that I've found something here. And obviously knowing that you were doing those sessions Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and people were paying me for it. I had the accountability. I had to show up. I couldn't lie in, right? So having to get up at 5:15 in the morning was hard work when I've never done it before. I really struggled mentally, but I knew I had to do it. And then you got up, you did the session, you felt amazing after. So yeah, that's pretty much, I suppose, where it went. And like continuing the story from there, because I suppose you were asking me about, building up to a point where you feel, am I born and made to do this? I did the boot camps for 2 years, right? And it was kind of slowly growing. And I knew I had about 30 clients. And this is an interesting thing in life, right? You get to a point where you stagnate a little bit, right? And you realize, what do I need to do to take things to another level? And that's the hardest part, because sometimes you can try hundreds of different things and it's only that one thing that's going to work. So I was doing that. I got to like a couple of years, 30 clients, earning a little bit of money, able to put food on the table. I wasn't able to, to invest in myself, or I wasn't able to go and buy a new car. I wasn't able to buy all this organic food, buy all these nice clothes from Lululemon, still working towards that. But do you know what I mean? I was living a basic life, just getting by. And I thought, what do I need to do? And really, so random as out of the blue, I get a friend call me, right, while I'm walking one day. And she says, I've been doing this personal development course and I think you should come and give it a go. And I was like, you know what? You've got me at the right time. So I showed up to this personal development course called Landmark. Some people hate it. Some people love it. But for me, I stood in this room and it was like $750 for a 3-day event. I mean, I didn't have the money. And I remember Corinne, my wife, she was with me and she turned around and she was like, right, we're going to do it. Because she was on this journey as well for personal development. She was doing a bit of wellness coaching for a company. So I was like, oh no. So anyway, I had to do this event. 3 days for 13 hours a day, stuck in a chair, talking about all sorts, emotions, everything. And it was hard the first day, but I'll tell you what, absolutely transformed my business. I came out of that. I went from 30 clients to 60 clients in 90 days. It taught you about listening to people. This is the thing I realized that I was missing. I was so nervous about saying the right thing and so nervous about responding that sometimes I actually wasn't listening and feeling someone's emotion, going into what they're experiencing. So what I did is I basically changed and started listening to people, started listening and acknowledging who they are, what they feel and what they want to create. And that basically transformed into the sessions, right? So absolutely went wild, and obviously added together with all the flyer drops, all the I was investing heavily in marketing. I was doing lots of ads, and I had something unique because I was the only person doing outdoor sessions in this area. But it absolutely blew up. And then I did another course, and then it just kind of kept going from there. And I kept growing pretty much. And so I want to get to a point where that's what I did for the next 5 years. I just basically kept growing and got to a point where I was kind of maxed out, and I just kept going for 5 years. And then obviously I thought, well, I had a baby was born. I'll go for another year, but I knew in my heart I needed to take it to another level. But what I wasn't doing is I wasn't taking things to another level. I was just doing what I knew I was good at and making an okay living. But the question I wanted to ask myself when I'm an old guy, 99 years old, like Prince Philip, right? I want to be looking back and being like, I absolutely gave it everything. And I knew there was something in me that can be doing more. So that's what happened. Basically, lockdown happened and it was a bit of a wake up call. And then that's when I had to absolutely grow again. So should we talk more about that? Where, that's probably where I've got to now. Yeah. Cool.
I just can't believe how quickly it jumped. And
I just want to pick up on one point there, and selfishly, because it was exactly what you were talking about listening. When I first started the podcast this time, well, a year and a bit ago, pre-COVID, I sent the first 3 or 4 episodes out to a few very close, trusted friends who I knew would give me, no bullshit feedback. And I remember one of them saying to me, "You're so intent on not upsetting the guest for sharing their time and asking the right questions that you're not listening to what they're saying and responding. You're just literally looking at the screen, and then once they've finished saying something, you then go to your next question." And I'm like, and that exactly, you listen to my second season versus my first season, subtle differences, but it made a huge change and I actually enjoyed it more because you could relax a little bit. But I find that really curious that that's your experience there, and I had exactly the same thing happen. So it's quite cool.
It's amazing, isn't it? People want to be heard, right? And most of the time we're so caught up in our own emotions. And look, I don't blame anyone. This is like, we all still do it. You have to work at it, and you have to find. That's why we've got all these amazing things in mental health now. Yoga, meditation, mindset training. There's affirmations out there. There's a lot of ways you maintain it, but we're also bombarded with a lot of things that can stop it, like putting the news on. Sky News, watching it all day, it's like fear, and you start getting into your own head. So you've got to really work on it, right? It's not something that you can just naturally have. So yeah, mate. So let's go to it. So this is what I've been doing, right? Lockdown. I had my baby, 3 months old. Lockdown happens. 48 hours notice. I'd never in my life experienced anything like this. I had this solid client base, and I had to basically then tell everyone that we can't do any classes anymore. And I'll tell you what, it was really bizarre because it was almost a bit of an awakening. I felt like there was someone talking to me going, "I'm doing this for you, Steve, because you need to make a change. And you need to grow yourself and do something a little bit more advanced to what you're capable of." So it was almost like a weird thing. It's like negative in terms of the people have been really sick, dying from it, but also an opportunity at the same time to change the world for a positive thing or a different thing. And for me personally, because we're all here working towards our own goals and dreams, right? It was to give me an opportunity to grow into something new. So all of a sudden I knew within 5 seconds of the lockdown being announced by the New Zealand Prime Minister, I knew I did a message to the clients and I said, we're going online, completely online. And we're doing sessions online every single day. I had my iPhone that battery would only last 10 minutes. I had a stand that was 8 years old, and that was it. And obviously I had a Zoom account. Luckily it was, you can do a free account with Zoom, lasts for 45 minutes. So I had no idea what was going on, and I went into the unknown, and I lost 50% of my clients. My income went down dramatically. And it was emotional, financial struggle. But you know what was really funny about the whole thing is that I almost felt alive within myself, almost like an awakening. My shoulders felt a bit lighter. I felt a little bit more kind of in the moment, in the present, and I was doing something out of my comfort zone. So my energy levels were up, my endorphins were going crazy, and I had this kind of sense, adrenaline going through me that I hadn't had for a while. And pretty much 50% of my clients kind of left. 50% were kind of not sure. I almost lost my business in the space of a week. Luckily, those 50% of clients absolutely loved it and continued training with me to this day. And obviously people have left, new people have come, and we've started going back to a little bit of face-to-face and stuff like that. But that whole thing, during that process of going online, I went crazy at trying to learn new things. And I picked up a couple of corporate jobs online only for a company in Dubai. And then one day out of the blue, there's me. I'm doing these online sessions. I'm going hard on my private Facebook. I've done like 100 workouts on my Facebook group. I have my Instagram. I was doing workouts everywhere. Like literally, there was a workout. You type in Steve Butler Barefit, Steve Butler Bootcamp. You could find a workout for me. And someone reached out to me literally and said, "Hey, Steve," and I've been doing a bit of training with this company anyway. They said, "We've got a corporate workout that we've got planned for tonight for one of our clients, but the trainer's pulled out. Can you do it?" It was like I think it was about 11 p.m. New Zealand time. It's coming up almost a year. I think it was like June, July time last year. And I just went, I remember I was cleaning my teeth, looking at the message, and I just went, "Yeah, I'll do it." And maybe I had a 3-month-old. I hadn't slept the night before. I've been running 5-6 online sessions a day. And I just was like, I've got to do this. It just felt a calling. So I remember like 10 o'clock at night, I'm sitting down in the house and I'm just thinking, oh my life, what is this going to be about? I had this feeling of like, I don't know what it was. I hadn't had it for ages. It was almost like that feeling I had when I first started running the boot camp 7 years earlier. And I sat there. So I went into the room. I took the camera on because by this time it had been 3 months of doing online. So I'd learned a lot. I'd got a camera. I'd changed my internet a little bit faster. New phone. I had to invest, and we had it all set up. So I'm on this Zoom call, and they tell me, "Oh, yeah, we've got a Liverpool player coming on." Also, it's going to be from a bank. There's the company that the client's a bank, and all their staff are going to be coming on. What workouts you doing, Steve? It's 30 minutes. I was like, yep, this is what we're doing. Anyway, they press play, and then literally 1, 2, 3, 4, and literally it gets like 112 people on this Zoom workout. And I'm like in my house, 11 o'clock at night, like shaking with nerves because I'd had like 27, what was my highest number on an online workout. And I'm like, and I'm there, and there's like 100 plus people on there. And I was like, whoa, this is absolutely wild. And honestly, I felt like I went into another soul. I can't even remember it. It was the most wild experience ever. Anyway, Jose was on the workout, and who you're going to be interviewing as well. And then we did the workout, and then the rest is history, I suppose. The rest is history from there. But I'll stop there, and then you can kind of add to anything you want. But that's the journey, I suppose, to kind of COVID.
I think I'm just curious, picking back a little bit, because one of your ambitions, pre even the bootcamp business was, a global travel, all of that sort of stuff. And you've ended up going into a business where you're actually connecting people from around the world and bringing them together for a virtual community that perhaps 5-10 years ago, certainly from an accessibility point of view, didn't even exist. There probably was, there certainly was, Skype and things like that, but it was never used in the way that we've used it over the last year. So I'm curious now, like, are there any, like, just obviously we talked where we're going to go next with this, but actually, were there any little bits where you were using all this tech and you couldn't really believe that actually there was somebody in America, and then there was somebody in the UK, and there was somebody in Dubai, all on a call at the same time, engaging with you? Did you have moments like that where you had to almost just like pinch yourself?
Yeah, I did. The gratitude was unbelievable. I was kind of had like, wow, this is life. Life has a purpose, and your journey is written. You just need to be willing to go to find it, because there's a lot of pain. The universe won't, I've learned the universe won't give me what I want until I've tried it and exhausted it and given it my absolute 99.9% effort. And that's what I've learned. So I almost felt a sense of relief of, wow, found a bit of a calling here. I've found the purpose. And I almost felt gratitude, but I also felt like this was the time. I felt confident that this was my time to take things to another level, and everything I'd worked for, how many thousands and thousands of sessions I've done, how many thousands of conversations I've had, it brought me to this point. So I was prepared for it mentally, but just the excitement and gratitude of it was, that's basically the emotion of it, right? It was quite overwhelming, but I knew in my head that I could deliver. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's almost like you when you get to your point of when you can go to the next level, it's almost like you're prepared for it because everything you've done before. And that's one thing I've learned, that you don't get given stuff without having the experience. You will get given things when you're ready to do it. The universe will provide you with it when you can do it.
There's a wonderful quote. I've had the privilege of working with quite a few Olympic level athletes, and you can see that they will often train and behave like an Olympic medalist long before they have a medal around their neck. And I think this, it's the graft of actually understanding that, and it almost runs in conflict to modern day society. 0% credit, everything yesterday, click, click, click. I want everything now. So that must have been, I guess, a rewarding moment. And I mean, when you came off that corporate call, take us on to the next steps of what happened when suddenly this other spiraling journey suddenly emerged.
Well, I came off the call, and I remember at the end of it, we had a debrief, and I said to Jose, he said to me, wow, that was the most intense but energetic workout I've ever done. And he said, I hope I don't see you again. So I said, don't worry, you probably won't see me again. I'll never forget it. And we came off the call. I came in. I was up like for the next 3 hours of excitement. I didn't know whether to have a beer, cook some food, watch a film, read a book. Honestly, it was unbelievable. Like, I couldn't sleep for at least 2 hours. I remember I went to bed 2 hours later, and it took me a good 45 minutes to an hour to sleep. I was that pumped. Anyway, obviously there was something happening. Anyway, I reached out to. It was so random. Didn't even plan this. I woke up. I remember my son. He would have been 6 months at the time. He had a really bad night, so I slept because I didn't want to go in the room and wake him up. I slept in the spare room, and I woke up in the morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, for my session. So I'd only had about 2-3 hours sleep. And I just woke up and I turned my phone on, and he just came into my head. So I thought, who is this guy? Because obviously I've been in New Zealand for a long time. I don't watch really football. Being in the UK, I used to be into it a little bit, but never really, since I've been in New Zealand, never really watched a game unless England are playing in the World Cup final, which they haven't as yet. So hopefully that day happens before I get too old. So I'm in bed and I'm like, who is this Jose? So I typed him in Instagram. I was like, Jose, what was his surname? Enrique. So I typed him in, and then I was like, oh, this guy's actually well known, because I wasn't sure. Like, I just knew he's a Liverpool player, ex-Liverpool player. I wasn't sure on the, I don't follow Liverpool as much as obviously other people, and I saw his profile, and I was like, this guy's really well known. And so I messaged him in the moment. I just said, and I didn't message him because he was well known. I just messaged him because I was in the moment, wasn't really thinking. I was like, wow, this guy really appreciated my workout. I should probably thank him and ask him how he's doing. So I messaged him and I said, hey, mate. The message was, hey, mate, how's the body feeling after the workout? Cheers, Steve, coach from last night. And he messaged me back straight away. And he even sent me a voice note, like, for 2 minutes to explain how his body's feeling. So he had quite a great personality, and we kind of hit it off from there. And every time we did a workout from there was so much energy, synergy with each other. And it was amazing how it just came together, because I was looking for something. He was looking for something. We both had this journey. He had like a massive journey he'd been through after playing football. And obviously, since we've got to know each other, I've learned so much more about him. We talk on average about 5 hours a week on the phone. I talk to him more than my mum and dad, at the moment. So that just shows you the connection we've kind of made over the last 9 months. Yeah.
So at what point then did it kind of evolve into where you are now? Because obviously we're at a really exciting point where actually now you're laying the foundations and hopefully creating something that will become something global. And you talk about achieving this dream of, passion and wellness and fitness, kind of waking up every day with purpose. You're now almost knocking on that door globally. So what does it feel like to be at that point?
Well, what did you say? What does it feel like to be at that point? It's what I love about it. It's almost like I'm on a new journey again. The excitement of having this new change and this connection with someone new, this new bit. And I said to Jose at the start, I'd love to do an online business, because I tried to do that, and there's a lot of online businesses out there in any industry, and fitness seems to be more than others because it's on social media. But there's a lot of competition with anything you do in life, right? So I tried to do me online, and I found unless people get to know me, they don't really know what I'm all about, and therefore the chances of building a community from an online perspective internationally was pretty much, I found, really hard. Whereas I was face to face, I could go, people could come for a trial, I could talk to them for 20 minutes after the class. They could go, God, this, they feel connected. But online, it's really, as you know, really a bit harder. So I thought, we kind of need a little bit of a balance here. So we need someone that can do the workouts, create the energy, but we need someone that's got trust already. People have trust with Jose. They know his life story. They've got relatability. So when he does something, they know it's him, and they can kind of get emotionally invested in what he's doing. And then obviously I come into that. So that's pretty much why it worked really well. But initially, like we spent hours talking about it. Could it work? What do we want to create? What's the benefit for it? And he was just like, let's have fun with this. And I was like, yeah, definitely. I mean, I still have my 80% of my income comes from my other business that I do in New Zealand. And I'm still doing that. Still really happy about that. I've got a great business partner I work with. He does a lot of the stuff, but then obviously this is kind of the other 20% that we're building at the moment. And this is kind of the long-term goal, to really build this up. And obviously Jose, myself, he knew that, and he had a bit of free time to kind of help take it to another level. So we kind of nutted it out. We found the brand, the name, what the goal was of what we want to create, where the market was. A lot of our market are in Europe. So we thought, well, we need to make sure the time zones are relevant to them. And then obviously, mate, we just went from there, and we just kept learning. It's been a month now. And look, we're growing slowly. We're just about breaking even. We're lucky. Our overheads are low. We're breaking even, and we're investing all the money back into the people. We're doing a Liverpool shirt giveaway this month. So we're going to give a shirt away. So I would have never been able to do this if I was on my own. And people really want to be part of that. So I just know if he's doing a great job, and the more people that come into our community, the more people are going to want to be part of it. And, it's live, it's real time. We're getting to know you personally. It's not just a pre-recorded workout on an app that you can just do at any, it's convenient. That the benefits of that is convenient, but people want to feel that accountability. People are lonely now. It's been COVID. We're stuck at home. Nothing beats coming on a Zoom workout, feeling your endorphins boosting, feeling part of a team, and then as a result, feeling connected to other people, right? Meeting new people, because we can't meet new people at the moment. And then when lockdown ends, and when COVID ends, then we want to continue it. We're going to be doing live workouts. We want to go around the country doing big events for schools, different communities. So, this is just the start. It's not just a live virtual workout, but it's the start of something. And I say to anyone that's thinking of, joining us, come for a trial. If you give it a go. What's wonderful about the sessions is we do 2 different types of exercises per round. We do a beginner option and an advanced option. So if you're, a big fitness fanatic, you're going to love it. If you're just starting out, you also can get a good burn as well. It's not just type YouTube in, hit workout, and you've only got one option. And if you can't do it or you hurt yourself, you just press pause and then you click off the page. Or you get caught up watching the news because it's a pre-recorded and then a pop-up comes up on your phone. Oh, I'll do the workout later. And you just get demotivated. I can't do it. I can't get fit. I can't stay motivated. This is the perfect thing to stop all of that and keep you accountable because of that community. So yeah, that's one thing I'd say why I feel we've got something very unique that we can bring forward. But like I said, it's early days, so just enjoying the journey.
So in these early days, what does it actually look like in terms of a Monday to Friday program for people out there? And especially there's a lot of people who I think are probably going to be more open and engaged with this type of model going forwards, just because actually it's more cost effective. They haven't got to leave their house, especially with people that have got kids and things like that. Actually, it makes it more accessible. So, what does a week look like for you guys?
Yeah, definitely. What I love about it is that the whole picture. I mean, how do I structure this without going too over the top? Okay, so it's for €20 a month, right? You get 7 sessions a week. 5 of them are HIIT, 2 of them are yoga. At the moment, we're going to be bringing more stuff, but just put that into perspective. This is live, virtual, in real time. People giving their time in the moment. I'm not in a studio for a month recording workouts and then just sending it to you and charging you a fee. I'm delivering it in real time. It's personal. So you're paying €20 a month for 7 sessions a week. That's less than €1 per session. So the cost is basically, a coffee costs you $5. It gives you a little hit. And then you got to go and have another coffee, pay another $5. Okay. And you kind of have that emotional roller coaster. This is the consistent journey that's going to be cheaper than a coffee, way cheaper than a coffee per session, and it's going to be delivered to you in real time, and that buzz is going to continue because we've got a session every day. You've got the opportunity to really stay on top of your wellness and keep improving. So the yoga classes is done by Jose's partner Amy. She's amazing at it, so calm. She's got a great way of communicating. She's not intense. And then you've got me that's got high energy, very different, talking quite quick and then jumping about. But also then you've got Jose who does the slow movements in the workout as well. So there's that. And then we do a Q&A at the end so people can jump on, ask Jose questions about football, ask him about life. We can talk to you about how they're feeling. And every week I give everyone a meal plan. That's all the subscribers. So they all get a meal plan they can follow. So, I mean, look, it's we've got a Telegram app where we can communicate with people. So tell me a pre-recorded app done by a trainer where you can just have a group chat with them. I've paid personal trainers. I'm telling you, it's, the minimum amount you're looking at is £1,500 that I've, seen for 6 months or 3 months, and you're pretty much getting all pre-recorded workouts and then a group chat, and you're with one person. This is like a whole group, and you're paying €20 a month. So yeah, I think people should look at what they want to achieve in their life. What makes them most happy? Is it being around people? Is it having a community? Is it being able to express yourself? Is it being able to have fitness as a routine? Do you want to be able to find fitness fun again? If that's the case, and you feel like you kind of, whatever you're doing isn't working, give it a go. Come on, trial us out for a week. It's definitely an opportunity for you to figure out what you want and what you don't want. So yeah, Jose is probably going to be delivering a little bit more on this tomorrow when you hear his podcast. But yeah, that's probably my perspective on it. It's a wonderful thing, and I'm really excited to be able to take it further into the future.
I think something that's really cool with this as well is that I think, having grown up, and yourself the same, like in England, it's a relatively small group out of a wider circle of friends that are in the sports teams. And I don't mean when you're at school, but I mean when you leave your school and you join your local swim team, your football team, whatever it is, generally it's a smaller group of people compared to everybody else out there. Whereas actually this kind of flips that on its head. It's like, do you guys go and watch football down the pub on a Saturday night, or do you, whatever it is? Well, you can all be part of this, and then at the end you can effectively have your beer down the pub chit chat, with somebody that you used to watch and scream at on TV. So I think it is a really unique kind of business approach, and it's also, as I think it's something that I think going forwards is more relevant than probably it's ever been, because actually when we come out of this, my nan knows what Zoom is. The Queen is on Zoom. It's so much more usable. So I guess my final question I really want to ask, because it has been such an incredible journey going through all of these meandering bits. When you look back across the way, let's talk personally and professionally. What have been the biggest lessons that you've actually learned?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm 34. I just turned 34. So my wife always tells me I've still got a long way to go. I need to keep remembering. Life isn't always as it seems. I'd say I wanted to remember these things, because I think, and really sharing them with you from the heart, is that life isn't always as it seems. The journey that you think you're going to go on sometimes won't be I've learned the universe will give you what you're required, what you need in the right moment for you to take it to another level. If you feel something badly enough and you want to do something badly enough, I think if you follow it and do it and be prepared that, you're going to have to go through the motions, the universe will provide it to you eventually if it knows that's your path. So that's what I've realized, is not everything as it seems. I wanted to do a travel company for 5 years. I wanted to travel. I grew up, I went to uni in Brighton. I finished uni. I thought I was going to work for a company living in the UK until I got stuck at Carphone Warehouse. And then I had a girlfriend that wanted to go traveling. If I didn't have a girlfriend that wanted to go traveling, it never would have happened. Also, I'd say is trust the process of what you're going through. Be honest with you, like living 10 years in New Zealand, all my cousins, family, friends, all live in the UK. Right. It was just me and Corin here for 9 years before Oakley was born. And tell you what, it's a very lonely game being on the other side of the world. I have many sleepless nights, many days of a lot of emotion, of knowing that I can't hang out with my mates. I can't see my mum and dad when I want, So, but there was this part of me that was like, trust the process. There's a reason why this is happening. And here we are at the moment. We're in COVID, lockdown. I'm in New Zealand, but I'm creating this online, wellness program to be able to give me the opportunity to work remotely. And that gives me the opportunity to see people that I love more frequently, which makes me happy. And that never would have happened if I didn't follow this route. I would have just been doing the boot camps and then would have had to give it all up and would have just been a little bit confused. So life just has worked out in the right way. Also, I'd say patience and resilience is the key. I've been in a bit of comparison mode at sometimes. I'll give you an example, and we're all guilty of this. In New Zealand in COVID, the news used to share stories of people, and I used to write to the news papers every day and ask them, emailing different people, can I get an article? Can you do a thing about me changing to online, helping people? No one ever responded. Never got on the media. And the only time I did was a negative article about me doing a boot camp in a cemetery once. I did a boot camp in a cemetery, and the media caught up on it, and they blew me up. And that was the only time I got some exposure. So when Jose came along and all this exposure came, you can imagine how grateful I was, right? When I've been trying for 10 years to try and get exposure in the media. And I've had literally the only way I've built my business through referrals and building that connection one by one. So it's been a bit of a journey. So I'd say patience and resilience is the most important thing. And from a personal, I think I've done a bit of both there. I think personal and professional. So I think that will give everybody a bit of an idea of I think some support personally and professionally. Yeah.
I've got one more thing I've got to ask you, because you've mentioned a few things there around probably not expecting where you could end up or where it could go. So if you could both time warp and travel back to 10-year-old Steve back in Reading, what would you say to him?
I'll try and live in the moment a little bit more. Enjoy the moment. Everything you're experiencing, absolutely love it with 120% commitment.
I was going to say, I think we've all picked that up, over the last 40 minutes listening to you. It's so much energy. And the cool thing is, obviously, we had a prep call a few weeks ago for this, and yourself and Jose are sitting there, and he's going, I am not as fit as he is, and he's he does all the advanced stuff, but he's got so much energy, and I love it, and there's just so much passion. And I think one of the most enjoyable parts of this podcast journey is that the first episode I did was with, and I'll have to send it over to you, but with a guy who did an app for swimming coaching, so that people who couldn't access a coach could still get coaching through their smartwatch. And I met him when it was a startup back in 2017, and it's now on very high up on Apple's list of apps and all that sort of stuff. And but every time we catch up, every few months, there's still that passion, love, drive, energy in what he does. And that's exactly what I'm hearing here. So it's just so nice, because it is, like you say, the universe does, pay it forward. You do your yards, and you're patient, and you work hard, you will get there. So it's been really enjoyable kind of hearing it all now. And I'm really excited to speak to Jose and actually share his story of the different view of kind of his meandering journey and how your worlds have kind of come together.
Yeah, definitely. And just want to acknowledge you as well, Kev, giving us the opportunity to be able to do something like this. I haven't done a podcast and had a deep conversation with someone before in this type of context. So I just acknowledge you as well. And obviously, mate, in life we grow, don't we? And we have to have new experiences in order to grow to the next level. So again, this is something that I felt I've been ready for a long time, but the opportunities come around, and like I said, we're just moving. This is just the start. So just to thank you for being there at the start, mate, and being there on the journey with us right at the start, because we're going to look back, I'm sure, like you said, with the guy you said who does the app for swimming, we're going to be doing the same thing. So just acknowledge you, mate. Thank you. And great questions.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Steve. I'm sure our listeners have all loved it. They're going to be putting their heads on the pillow going to bed. You're just getting started for your day, and we hope you have a good one.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. All the best.
Wow, that was a lot of passion and inspiration, and from such a nice guy. It's super exciting sharing stories from entrepreneurs and people who have forged their own paths in the business world. And it's awesome to get those honest and frank insights from someone who has navigated a really challenging 2020 and has come out the other side and is really on an upwards curve. We've included the links to Steve's social platforms as well as Amplified Coaching online, so please make sure you check both those out. Next time we're on to part 2 of the conversation as we hear from Steve's partner in crime, Premier League star Jose Enrique. Another hugely inspiring conversation that you will not want to miss. As always, we would really appreciate it if you can give us a quick rate and review on whatever platform you're joining us from today, and please make sure you share the show with your friends. Check out our website, theroguemonkey.org, if you want to find out more about what we're up to besides the podcast. And finally, just a huge thank you to everyone who engages on our social media platforms. We get some amazing comments, and they really do mean a lot when we hear from our supporters. One that stuck out for us in recent weeks was a recommendation from the University of East Anglia on Twitter. they shared the following. We would highly recommend the pod. Such a varied range of speakers in and around leadership and high performance, whatever that may be. Ideal for student observation and exploration. Steve's interview this week is the epitome of what we are trying to share with the next generation, especially aspiring students. So remember, whatever your passion, it really is possible, but you've got to go and take these opportunities when they present themselves. Join us next time for another episode of the Rogue Monkey Podcast.